It was a wounded man receiving positive feedback from other wounded men. And so, yeah, it was not the real thing, but still, I was attached to it. So, I didn't try to escape it. I came from indulging into transgender fantasies, identifying as non binary, considering maybe taking hormones or do surgery or just show up as a woman in the world. I was addicted to gay pornography and this all went away. But there is only one way to pursue truth, the truth of sexual desire. And the truth of sexual desire is reproduction, is procreation. Temptation. We all get tempted. I heard that yesterday. While we subconsciously know when we're being led into temptation, what we're succumbing to is actually a false story that artificially turns something that is wrong into something that is right. Temptation is always some sort of rationalization. It's not our fault. We can't help it. We are all sinners and we all get tempted. But we always will be met with the opportunity of repentance, ownership, and responsibility. We will be faced with the consequences of our actions, and then it is up to us to use our free will to right the wrong for real this time. When I turned gay, as I was hitting puberty, it felt like it happened to me, like it was a fatality. It didn't feel like a choice. Then obviously it was still a choice to try to resist it or not. And at some point, I decided not to. Self-righteousness is what led me into making that conscious decision to not resist it. That's how temptation works. I got tempted, mostly through the internet, by other people having made the same decision, to feel self-righteous about the fact that it felt good and therefore this was okay to choose that over facing and feeling the underlying pain and shame that caused the temptation to occur in order to numb it. Turning gay felt good at first, then it felt terrible, and then it felt eventually good. That's how decision making works, either good or bad. Temptation occurs in the mind in an attempt to make something wrong feel right. I already knew that being gay was deemed bad and ridiculous by my male peers and society around me. In my earlier years, I had been mocked as not being man enough, which made me feel inadequate, that I was failing at masculinity. This was the initial temptation. Something wrong my psyche needed to find a way to make feel right. The temptation is always ultimately a temptation to suppress the pain rather than tuning into it. Some boys were mocking me as if I was a missed girl, meaning in their head I should have been a girl because of how effeminate I was, but this failed and therefore I am a boy who fails at being a boy. That's how they were seeing me. This pained me, this made me ashamed, and I reacted to that shame and that pain instead of having the courage to fully experience it. So I told myself this was true. I succumbed to the idea I couldn't be man enough. In distress, I complied to tell this to myself too, on my own, with no role model to tell me something wise about what to do about it, to stand for myself and to make me understand to what extent these boys might be somewhat right, but also wrong. I won't dive too deep into this, but to falsely admit they were right was my way of staying emotionally connected to them in the only way I felt I could at the time. If I was ready to agree with them, it still felt like I belonged. In a skewed perspective, yes, but still. And because I was ready to take on this skewed perspective, because it was still better than anything else, I didn't have to deal with what was wrong. The disconnection to my male to the disconnection to my male peers, which pained me, was artificially soothed by holding the belief that they were right. And this was the initial temptation. I am a missed girl, and that's why I fail at being a boy. I remember telling myself these exact words in the face of a false belief like, I can't be man enough. And I know now that I'm a grown up adult, even if it took a lot of time, that it is a false belief. Whoever you are as a man, how effeminate you might judge yourself or you might be judged by others, you cannot not be man enough as long as you're being a man. Because how can a man who is a man not be man enough? You will always be man enough, which means you will always have the means to pursue righteous outcomes and just get things done. You might feel like you can't do it. You might feel like you've been met with limitation and shortcomings, but you have what it takes, and that's what I mean by being man enough. You will always be man enough to actually be able to be man enough. And so, in the face of a false belief like that, you will always get tempted because we all do. It cannot not happen. You'll get tempted at some point to turn that thing that is painful, like the thought that you're not man enough and that you can't do it as a man, into something pleasurable. And the problem with that, or the problem, or from another perspective, a miracle, is that when something wrong is artificially made right by the mind, by your mind, when it's alienated by a false belief, then the spirit of truth will start to add more and more pressure to it in order for the lie to be revealed. And the more the mind is going to enter deeper into denial of truth, the more it is going to succumb to more and more twisted temptations of all kinds. So it's a vicious circle. And we do that as we're being unwilling to serve God. Because to serve God, and I know for some people, God will be a big word. But I will own it because, yeah, I believe in God. Because to serve God more often than not means tuning into the pain. I turned gay as I actually started dating the girl I was romantically obsessed with for months, if not years. It only took a few days in order to lose all attraction after I was brave enough to ask her to become my girlfriend. And she said yes. I quickly became over-fixated on negative things about her, which didn't create despise or feeling of superiority, but rather a deep angst. It made me feel terribly anxious, like I was going to die. It was the weirdest thing for me, and I was heavily confused. Something about the desire I was feeling from her towards me made me terrified, like I was going to be completely absorbed by it, like I had no spine, no foundation to rely on, to be my own person at her side. she literally started to feel disgusting to me. And it's not something that I'm happy to say, it's just how it was. Uh, as I was unable to address and investigate in a meaningful way the discomfort and angst I was feeling. As I watched a TV daily show where the latest yearly French naked rugbyman calendar was introduced, while admiring these strong, athletic, masculine men's bodies, I felt an attractiveness to it. And as I indulged this attractiveness, I felt some sort of relief regarding the angst I started to feel when getting along with my girlfriend. So that's what homosexuality is. That's what same sex attraction is, among other things. It is a mystification that turns a false story that hurts you into something that feels good. And so that's when I got tempted again. Now, in the Our Father prayer, temptation is mentioned after asking for provision and forgiveness. So, after having asked for our Father in heaven to bless our body and our soul, we are ultimately asking Him to bless our minds. The evil one can only influence an alienated mind, and the alienation of one's mind is all rooted in a false core belief that our mind can actually use us, that our thoughts determine who we are and what we do, when it is always us and up to us to use the mind and determine our thoughts and course of action. So that's exactly what happened to me when I was seized by this attractiveness. um, I felt like this new idea, which was a development of the idea that I can be man enough. Uh, Therefore, all the things that we tend to put with that as a society, you can be man enough, you're effeminate, you're gay. This idea, I feel an attractiveness to these male bodies, and I can be man enough, turn into this idea that I was gay, that I was homosexual, that this was sexual desire, that this was one more proof that I couldn't be man enough. And because I believe in that, it felt like a fatality when what it was just a thought. But it felt like this thought was um, truth, like it was something I couldn't choose, but it actually was something I could choose. I didn't choose that the thought came to me, but I actually had the choice to ponder it, which I didn't because it felt like it was imposed on me when it didn't. That's the mystification. And that's what's happening every time because there is only one way to go. And it's more complicated than just being straight. There are a lot of sinful ways. There are a lot of wrong ways. If you don't like the word sinful, there are a lot of wrong ways to be straight, probably almost as much as to be homosexual or to indulge into homoerotic fantasies and encounters. But there is only one way uh, to pursue truth, the truth of sexual desire. And the truth of sexual desire is reproduction. That's it. We can turn it into all kind of, we can do whatever we want with that, but that's just truth. The ultimate end, whether you take it from a biological or metaphysical or a social perspective, the end point of sexual desire is reproduction. It's procreation. And this I didn't take the time to ponder because precisely you need to be man enough to be able to procreate. If you don't consider yourself as adequate as a man, then this thought, which is truth, um, is not in your reach. You're being stuck into the mystification, you're not man enough, and so it ends up uh, for, it can end up into a lot of things, but at some point you will be faced with this temptation that you're gay, that maybe you're gay, and it will depend on many different factors, but yes, that's what happens. But let's keep going. So I was talking about the Our Father prayer. The prayer is what got me out of it. Not that I was looking for it. I was attached to my sexuality, to my erotic life. In some sort of weird way, I was good at it. I was great at it. And I was being met with positive, positive feedback from other people. But it was a wounded man receiving positive feedback from other wounded men. And so, yeah, it was not the real thing, but still, I was attached to it. So I didn't try to escape it. But the thing is, among other things that happened, I started to pray, and I started to pray the Our Father prayer, and I got connected back to a positive, a meaningful um, connection to something paternal, to paternal love, an ideal and positive uh, connection to a paternal love, uh, which is almost inaccessible today in the West because it's so highly criticized and because all men are failing in some ways, and so you can just either decide that men are just bad or you can decide that they're just human, you know. But anyway, I started to pray and it started to purify my body and my soul, my heart, how I related to others, and my mind. And I came from indulging into transgender fantasies, identifying as non-binary, considering maybe taking hormones or do surgery or just show up as a woman in the world, in the social world, as a social construct. And I was addicted to gay pornography, and this all went away as I prayed. I didn't pray for it to go away, but this went away as I prayed. And this is truth. And to be fair, I didn't even pray just because, like, what I mean is, as I prayed, it was more of a spiritual experiment for me. I was not even, I would say I was not even, I was okay to be agnostic during this experiment. Like I was okay to, it was just like it was kind of a utilitarian kind of things. I could see how psychologically something positive happened. So I kept going with it and I see how far it went and the results were outstanding. I had some room to face my own limitations and repent for them. All the ways I'm failing morally or just all the ways I'm failing. And there was suddenly space as I prayed to this good Father in heaven for mistake, for errors, for admitting the ways I'm lying, because we're all lying in some ways. And all this went away. and not only things about gender and sexuality, but this stuff went away. Okay. So my conclusion with the Our prayer is that the evil one can only influence an alienated mind. And the alienation of one's mind is all rooted in a false core belief that our mind can actually use us, as I was telling earlier. That our thoughts determine who we are and what we do. I believe I've already read that to you. I'm reading a prompter of this week's newsletter that I'm publishing. It's Resurrect Jeremy on Substack. I'm mostly on Substack right now. If you want to join, I'll make a link in the description below. You can also like this new channel and subscribe if you feel like maybe I have some interesting things to share with you, or if you think this message is important. Share this with friends that maybe you know, or people you know you care about, and you have a feeling or you know that they might be struggling with similar path than the one I struggle with. So yeah, our thoughts do not determine who we are and what we do. They don't have to. It's always us and up to us to use the mind and not let our mind use us, and to determine our thoughts and course of action. As our minds get blessed by God in prayer, we are being freed from temptation. In the face of past temptations to indulge into pleasure rather than enduring pain, we know better. We now know better. In the image of the Father, we choose pain, not because we are masochistic, and we don't like inflict on ourselves useless pain. We don't we don't grow attached to pain either, because that would be just another weird way to turn something that is painful into something pleasurable. But we choose pain and therefore liberate ourselves from it in the name of the Lord. And so, to finish my story time, I was 13 and puberty had hit a few months ago, before everything I told you about. And so later that evening, after watching this daily TV show where they were displaying the naked women calendar, on the brand new personal computer my dad had installed in my bedroom, which is one of the worst mistakes he ever made without knowing it. I don't blame him for it, but it was the end. It was, no, not the end. It was during the 2000s, so it was the boom of the internet, and we were not realizing as a society yet how much pornography was absolutely ruining people's lives by millions. So on the brand new personal computer my dad had installed in my bedroom, I searched the internet in order to take a better look at this man. To take a better look, right? And when I did that, because now I was in a setting where I was alone in my room in face of a machine who is not, or at the time, who was not watching me and was not like, my parents were not conscious of what I was doing. I was on my own, and this is very often when our sins come to the surface, and we can way more easily lie to ourselves about them. So what happened? And I want this to be clear because it's really hard to figure out when you're in it. You don't want to admit that, but what you feel is not even sexual. Your desire, like the way you are lusting over men, is some kind of envy you have as a man. And that's what happened. I was envious because I couldn't be man enough, and I was filled with envy regarding these men that were more than men enough, and to be honest, were also in some kind of sin in showing off. That's the way of showing off, making these kinds of calendar. Uh, but that's another topic. Envy took over my body in the form of lustful desire. That's what happened. And I, who identified as not man enough, felt overwhelmed with the desire to own what I believed I couldn't be. Okay? I desired to own, and I could at least own the image, if not their bodies. But later on, I did uh, commit the sin of owning other men's bodies that I believe I couldn't be physically and everything that was attached to it. But if not the bodies, at least the image I could own. And yeah. And this was all as a way to make feel somewhat right what was too painful to admit, that I felt like I couldn't be them. And that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be man enough, and I was still under the spell of this belief that I had admitted in order to stay connected to these boys. I needed to keep believing I couldn't be man enough. It was all on a subconscious level, right? It's not the kind of stuff that you, especially if you struggle with it for so long, it's because, yes, deep down you know, but to go deep down is precisely the thing you're not doing, and you do anything you can to not do by turning this into something pleasurable instead, in some sort of sinful way. Okay, so but it was but an image on a screen, but it made me feel like I finally owned what I desired to acquire. Manhood was at hand, but in a distorted way, in a wrong way, in a sinful way. And that's when it first felt good to be gay. When I got tempted. This is the first experience. It's always this one. It first felt good. It's the apple. You know, you want to eat it. Adam's apple, the apple of temptation, and then you eat it, and that's when it feels horrible. It feels like death. Okay, and that's the story behind the Garden of Eden and everything that happens in here. So a few minutes later, as I had turned off the computer and was laying in bed, it then felt horrible. It felt like the worst thing, because I just had been proved once again that I wasn't man enough. And instead of thinking this thought as it was, just a thought, like I could have seen this as a warning instead of a condemnation. I could have just admit to myself, okay, I have sinned, or if you don't like this kind of vocabulary, this is wrong. And by this is wrong, I mean it's making a disservice to me, because it's a fake story. It's a fake story made up so I don't have to feel the pain I have inside. And because I refuse to do that, I'm going to keep getting worse and worse despite all the LGBTQ liberation I took a part of, the liberation of the so-called liberation of my sexuality, doing everything I wanted about it, meeting with men that many of the men were wanting to, whatever. It still felt worse and worse, and my life really looked like something didn't work at all. And so, yeah, I kind of lost my train of thought. So yeah, I just had been proved once again that I wasn't man enough, and instead of seeing this thought as it was, a thought and a temptation issued from my alienated mind, I saw it as one more sign, a condemnation, a fatality, a curse. And because I didn't have God in my life, I didn't have faith, I didn't know what the things were. I mean, it was there somehow because I didn't end up, you know, unaliving myself. Because this is the end of the video, but this is what the ultimate temptation is. So I believe I had it, but it was hidden. It was hidden behind the pain that I didn't want to feel. Okay? So you choose pleasure so you can suppress the pain, when actually it's enduring the pain that liberates you from it and brings you and help your faith to anchor and expand. So yeah, I saw it as one more sign, a fatality, a curse. I was an homosexual, I was a faggot, and it did feel like a death sentence. That's what I told me, especially because I was growing in a violent neighborhood and very hateful and macho and homophobic neighborhood. It did feel like a death sentence, like I was going to die. Well, like I just diagnosed some cancer in my soul, right? This is how it felt. An endless amount of shame and fear and loneliness, sadness. And so, yeah, the like misery, despair, distress, and pain. Because that's the trap of sin. Sin feels good at first, but it's to bring you into more and more pain, because it's a lie, and truth needs to be revealed always. So you will be harassed by truth more and more the more you lie. And so, yeah, all the things, misery, despair, distress, pain, suffering, it is all rooted, it all takes root in the idea that life is not worth it. And this is the ultimate temptation, to believe that life isn't worth it. And yes, what I just wanted to, in comparison, I told that sin is about artificially making right something that is wrong. And so then, because it's wrong, after the pleasure, you feel even more pain, an even deeper level of pain that you want to push out of your life. And yeah, that's how sin works, when actually repentance and choosing pain voluntarily, and be okay to feel your pain, what's already there that you need to purify. It leads you to salvation. It leads you to truth, and truth feels good eventually, but it actually feels good. So it's the other way around. You might enduring pain at first, but because you choose to endure, you are being relieved from it. And you actually are given then the opportunity to right the wrong. Okay? So at first, we all sinners, so this is also about you just as it is about me, maybe just in a different way. But at first, we always tend we get tempted, and we get tempted to, in the face of a negative thought or feeling or everything, to suppress it and to turn it artificially into something pleasurable. It's a rationalization. But then we feel it even more, And depending on our stories, we can really go through a series, through a vicious cycle, or just notice it, and sometimes even notice it before. Like you can actually identify the temptation and say, okay, I say no to this because I know where it leads. This always feels good and appealing, but you know deep down it's leading nowhere. And so instead, you choose the discomfort, you choose to endure temporary discomfort that is leading you to eternal salvation. And I say eternal, maybe for the people that are less religious. I'm not. I'm not so much. I mean, I believe it's also uh, what we talk about when we talk about the afterlife and everything. But what I mean is that that's how you actually learn something once and for all. And the mistake you've been doing, at some point you're never doing it again, because you know, because you've been through the pain of it. You've actually get to the bottom of the pain, and you sacrificed your ego, you sacrificed your sin on the altar of truth and this temporary discomfort and pain. So you got crucified, if I may say so. And through this process, you are being saved from the pain once and for all. So the pain, the lie that is behind homosexuality, and I don't want you to hear this as a moral condemnation of you. I'm just saying you're lying to yourself and you're in pain and you know it. You know it. I'm not here to throw rocks at you. I'm just telling you, and don't judge you. I am you. I am you. And even now that I'm on the other side of it, I know. And I see on one side so many people, like, because they're lying to themselves, they encourage other people to lie to themselves too, and it's subconscious because they lie to themselves. They don't even know. I mean, in some way, in deep down they do know, and that's why I make this video, because I know some of you will get to the point where they will get back from the depth of their lies and actually hear something. You can hear that I come to you with love. I'm not here to hate on people. I'm actually here to spread this good news. That yes, being gay is a lie. It might not be the worst, but still it is a lie. A lie a lie you make to yourself. A lie that is making a disservice to you. I'm not even talking about society. And people hating on you are also wrong. But still, it is a lie you tell yourself that is paining you, that is weighing you down when it doesn't have to. So, I've been half improvising and half reading a script. I'm going to finish reading this script. The ultimate temptation takes root in the idea that life is not worth it. It's the suicidal temptation. Trigger warning. But we're there in a space of life and love. And so I'm not afraid of this temptation, whether it's in me or it's in you. The truth is, some of us, maybe all of us to some extent, are being faced with this dreadful idea that life is not worth it. Anytime we get tempted, every time we face the negative, and we are bound to face it because we are all sinners. That's what it means, that we're all sinners. It means we all faced with the negative in some way, shape, or form. When we've been faced with the negative, ultimately, we are tempted to believe that life is not worth it. And so, yes, whenever something happens that you are reacting to, the idea that life isn't worth it steps in. You're being tempted. It cannot not happen. So this cannot not be about you. And this cannot not be about me. And even once we start to grow into our faith, still we will continuously be faced with this stuff. It's not like it's going to end, because like that's what actually discriminates light from obscurity. If I just want to keep it short. So if I can't be man enough, that was my reasoning. If I can't be man enough, if I truly can't, if I can't help it, if I can't have authority on my life, I'm not talking about being a macho. If I can't be, if I can't have agency over my life, then life isn't worth it. Because it means it's always going to be the same. I'm always going to be a slave to these negative thoughts and take them as a curse instead of a warning. And so anything you perceive as unwanted ultimately brings you back to this ultimate temptation to believe that life isn't worth it. You might or might not consciously notice it. That's what's happening in the background of your mind. It cannot not happen. And that's terrifying, right? It is. However, it is up to you, to each and every one of us, to make anything worth it in the face of your initial perception of the negative. It is up to you to give a proper meaning to what has showed up into your life and made it appear as meaningless. And let me correct this. It is up to you not to give a proper meaning, to find the proper meaning. I'm still conditioned by so much stuff. It is up to you to find the proper meaning, because there is one, always. And it's not the temptation, it's not what feels good, it's what is right. Period. So that's what I didn't get back then, or at least not when it came to my virtue, my manliness. That's what took me 15 years of spiraling down, slowly but surely, growing isolated, in deep psychological pain, being completely dysfunctional, never achieving things, finishing things. Yes, that's what took me 15 years of spiraling down, one temptation after the other, of making right the fact that I believed I couldn't be man enough. But eventually I did figure this out, and that's why I'm doing this video, because now that I got it, I know, I understand, and I know a lot of people are going to come at me with huge resistances, the same I had. But I now know, at the very least, that many other people, many other men especially, are in different shades of the same process I've been in, and who have succumbed to the same temptation to believe that they're not man enough in some way, shape, or form, so they don't have to face the fears, the shame, the pain. And so it's not like being gay for them is not liberation, even if they brand it this way. It is alienation. It is. And although I don't want to feed hate and persecution towards people identifying as gay, and I will never be willing to do that. I know that in my own heart, and that's not what I'm doing right now. I do not want to keep telling lies that I've been telling myself and telling others just to feel good. 1 second and feel like crap the other 95% of the time. Being persecuted is a terrible thing, but you know that's not all there is. There is more that comes from you. That is your responsibility to grow out of, even if that's terribly painful and difficult. And it requires deep humility. But humility is not humiliation. It is up to you to declare what you are standing for and in the face of what. It is up to you to make sense out of anything negative happening to you, to make the proper sense aligned with the spirit of truth. And so I will just finish this video with one clear call to action. Just do it. Make proper sense out of what is happening to you. And the proper sense is the right sense. It's not the pleasurable sense that make things easier. They probably made them harder, but in a way that is right. And this hurts your salvation. So just do it. Do the hard thing because it's hard. It's worth it.